Right, Paidi. So, the first lesson there, and so it was an interesting one as well. We got through an awful lot of stuff. So, basically, what I'm going to do here is most of the stuff I'm going to cover kind of needs to be fleshed out with its own lesson. So, it's just going to be really a couple of little tidbits and one scale I want you to get familiar with as well. So, first of all, we were talking about seventh chords and how definitely at the stage you're at with chords, it doesn't really make sense to learn chords as shapes anymore, right? So what you want to be doing now is learning the structure of chords and how to kind of change them and modify them to get the chords you want, and to be able to kind of know what results to expect given the notes that you're putting into them. So if you take seven chords, for example, right, and we'll just use D for all of these, okay? So you've got D. Now there's two seventh variations that we can go for here, right? D major seven, the major referring to the seventh, not the rest of the chord. It's assumed that both of these are major, right? So you've got major seven, a high seventh, so in other words, one semitone below the eighth, and then D7, which is a major chord with a minor seventh in it. So if I had my way, to be honest, D7 would be called D major minor 7, because that's basically what it is. Then, in the minors, you've got the exact same type of variation. You've got D minor. This is the only one that's named in a way that I would like, D minor major 7, because, it's a bit of a mouthful, but at least it tells you what it is, right? So there's D minor with a major 7 in there. Then D minor 7, which is really D minor minor 7, right? It's a D minor chord with a minor 7 in there, okay? And then we'll get on, so later on, you're pretty sure you know all of the sevens by now, at least all the different types. So we'll get on to just a couple of different shapes for those and get on to the nines then, right? Because that's kind of the next logical progression when it comes to complex chords. Well, complex-ish anyway. Diminished, we spoke about them as well. So you'll know that a diminished chord is a minor chord with a flattened fifth. Now this is where so we know that this is an A minor shape taking up 5 frets to give us a D minor, okay? But that's not really enough, right? We need to know all of the notes in this, what they are. So we've got first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth. Eighth, we'll call that the first for convenience sake. There's our minor third there. And then back here is another fifth, right? So if we want a diminished chord, all of the fifths have to be flattened, right? So D diminished is where we just flattened this fifth, but we've still got a fifth here that we need to flatten. So we're going to swap these around. And if you really want, now what you can do is just block each E string like that. That's one way to do it. You don't always have to have all the notes in it, for the chord to have its effect. But if you really want that other flattened fifth, bring your bar back, slanted across the 2 frets. And there's D diminished. Just diminished, right? Now, D half diminished 7, or I suppose a more explanatory name of it would be D minor 7 flat 5. Again, that's just what it is. It's a minor 7 chord with a flat fifth in it. So there's D minor. D minor 7, okay, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the chord. And there's one of the fifths that needs to be brought down. And again, if we want this, we're going to have to rejig things a little bit. We've got 5th fret, 6th fret, 5th fret, 6th fret, and then first finger again is slanting back. One of my favorite types of chords is the minor 7 flat 5. Generally, much more often than not, this is true for all diminished chords, but particularly this one, it's good in the second degree of a minor key. So if you're in the key of A minor, B minor 7 flat 5, like in the Parisian Walkways chord progression, that's exactly how it's used there. But as I said, it's one of my favorites, so I'll show you a bunch of other different ways to use it as well. It's just a cool sounding chord. It's really, there's a lot of intrigue with it. Now, diminished 7 is where I'm gonna have to look it up. I can't remember. There was a time when I used to know why this chord is called diminished 7, because really, as it looks to me, it should be called diminished 6. But anyway, but it's called diminished 7, so we'll go with that, okay? So we've got our minor 7 flat 5. We take that minor 7 down another degree, another semitone, and there's D diminished 7. And then we can kind of naturally get that other flat fifth here because our first finger's already back here now with that new note. So now this one has the really interesting property. Because all of the notes in this are 3 semitones apart, you can just move it up 3 frets. So that's D diminished 7, this is D diminished 7, and this is D diminished 7, just with a rearranged notes. If you sort of go down through it and see what note each one is which, you'll find that it's just the same 4 notes every time. And then when you think about it, of course it is, because they're all just 3 frets apart anyway. So it's a really interesting one, and the arpeggio that goes with it is even better. So we've got that to look forward to. So there's D diminished, D half diminished 7, or D minor 7 flat 5. So a couple of different ways to fret this one. So, and then D diminished 7. Okay, so that's just a quick taster on the chords. Well, quick, we're 6 minutes in. So one more thing is I want to get onto the natural minor scale. So let's just do it in A minor for now. Okay, so here it is. So it's just a filled in pentatonic scale with the 2nd and 6th added in. Okay? Now the important bit about this, I'll just go through it again there so you can tab it out. So up 2 then 3, up 2 then 3, just up 2, back a fret on the G string. That's the kind of tricky thing about this particular shape. Up 1 then 2 from there. Then we're taking it back up a fret. Up 1 then 2, up 2 then 1. So now, so all I'll say about this one is, what I want you to do is just, obviously, number 1, just play it over and over, down up picking. Get really familiar with it, but not just in terms of how it's plotted out on the chords, right? What I want you to do is try to start memorizing anyway. You know, there's not going to be a test next week or anything like that, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Remember it in those terms, because that will allow us to kind of modify it and change it around and do modes and different things like that. Once we know what all those notes are, as well as where they are, then we can really start messing about with it and getting some interesting results. But for now, there it is in A minor, and remember that's your C major scale as well. So A natural minor is the same set of notes anyway as the C major scale. All you do is just start it from there, and you've got a C major scale. Okay, so plenty to be getting on with there. I'll see you next time.